Welcome to Virtual Sewing Room in Conversation with, and today I'm joined by,
I'm Sophie Hines.
and you do have a pet there, who's just off
Yes.
camera, so they might join us too. Uh,
Melba Hines.
so where in the world are you?
I am currently just outside Chicago in the United States.
Amazing. I think you're our first American on the series. I
I
think.
think so.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Anytime I uh, mm, talk on my Instagram, I get a whole bunch of messages and they're like, I had no idea you were American.
Okay.
Oh, what's my vibe? I don't know.
I never really think about it when I kind of follow people on social
Mhm.
media, really. I'm there for the pretty pictures. So what do you do, Sophie? Because you want one of our regular attendees to sessions.
Yeah. I am a sewing pattern designer. I specialize in lingerie. Um, I love to do inclusive sizing. We do extra, extra small through 6X. And everything is soft and like jersey. It's not really nothing nothing too fiddly, I hope. I like to go more comfortable, but we do BC cup sizes and DE cup sizes. So we try to be as inclusive as possible. Um, I also do period panty sewing kits, which I really love.
Yeah, so I came across you because one of our attendees suggested you when we first did a pants or knicker sew along. Uh,
Aw.
your pattern came up, so I included you in the list, and they pointed out that you do the pay it forward for patterns,
Mhm.
which is why I do pay it forward now. Because
Mm.
I contacted you before I set it up, like, how successful do you, how does it work? And you were like, yeah, it's great. So I've done it.
I
We have people who have used it, which is
Mhm.
really nice in the first six
Fantastic.
months. So it's really nice that there are people there being supported. So, and that's why I wanted to talk to you because I just thought you're just a nice person in the sewing community, and uh, I like your patterns. I've paid it forward for someone as well. I
Thank you
don't
so
know if
much.
I don't know if I've actually bought one of your patterns. I definitely paid it forward, but I
So somebody else did.
yeah, someone else out there. So is that your full-time job?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I've had other little things over the years, like social media um management for other small businesses, or I do consulting for people who want to either start a small business or make it pretty. So anything fun on the internet. And here's Melba Hines. She doesn't have a job. She's a full-time secret.
She's just assistant, full-time assistant. My full-time assistant should be asleep, but he might turn up. We'll see. So did you always want to be working in the sewing or fashion industry when you grew up?
I did actually. I wanted to be in fashion since I was really young. Um, um, when I was young, I was like, oh, that's not a real job. That's like TV something like, too fancy. And then I was sewing doll clothes my whole life. And then once I got to high school, I started sewing clothes for myself. A friend and I did a farmer's market booth, and we would sell like headbands and accessories and things, and like one-off pieces of clothing. And then I went to the University of Nebraska Lincoln and got a degree in fashion. Um, and then, yeah, I had an internship at a lingerie company in New York City. Um, and I had always assumed, like, oh, of course I'm going to move to New York and be in fashion. And then when I was there, I was like, this is all really a lot.
Hmm.
um, and I started my business um, in high school with the farmers market, and I sort of transitioned it onto Etsy, and then my own website. And um, in college, I really found lingerie as my niche. I started it as like, I want a small project that I can like start and finish in one afternoon and like feel accomplished and have gotten somewhere. And then I just loved it so much. There's so many things that, sorry, Melba's choking. Um, there's so many things you can do with lingerie, and the um, I like the challenge of like you're stuck on the body. If you want to do a big silhouette, you have to like it has to be really intentional, and you have to think about how it's going to fit under other clothing or how it's going to be worn specifically. Otherwise, you're just, you know, staying close. And there's so many ways that that can push you into design lines and, you know, like how is it going to peek out of the garments? We should do some paneling and sheer spots. So yeah, it's everything's a puzzle and it's exciting every time.
I do like that about your patterns, the paneling, because it makes for really great scrap busting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's the horrible side then is you get started like, oh, well, a piece of fabric this big, that could be, you know, I can do something with that. And then your scrapbook it just stays huge because you can keep everything.
and recently you've been sharing a pattern. I don't know if you're working on it or released it. I don't think you have, but where the top of the pants kind of comes up a bit.
Mhm.
How do I describe it? Like an S shape almost. It's got an extra band that's separate from the top of the pants. I'll put a
Yeah.
picture in that better just
Is it the boxers pattern?
have to look up now. I probably should have looked before we started chatting, but I'm not that prepared. Uh,
Maybe. What are
eh,
you working
eh.
on?
Yeah, tell us about yourself. Uh,
Tell us about yourself, Melba. I got her when she was 5 months old, and now she's two.
Hey, and everyone asks because I asked beforehand, what kind of dog is she?
She is a Chihuahua, and we think the rest of her is Italian Greyhound because she never stopped growing arms.
My God, they are long legs.
she's she's very tall and she's very slim. She's definitely a Hines.
She fits in perfectly.
Yeah. I've been wanting to do a boxer's pattern for years and years and years. Um, and I've had ideas before, like, oh my God, I could make the whole pattern just be one piece, and then you sew it together, and it's like the seam spirals up the legs and across the body and down the other leg. And my friend Gabe, um, he does his Instagram is underground undies. He's set up uh, some in-person sewing meetups in the past. He's very cool. Um, he was like, have you thought about doing something normal? It's like it doesn't have to, you don't have to go that hard. um, but one of my issues with boxers is that like if you're used to like the style lines of underwear with, you know, elastic around the legs and you like feel secure, putting on a pair of boxers just like it doesn't feel very secure. You're just like, I'm wearing pants. And so when I had the idea to make the strip of mesh that goes around the hips and to make it feel like you're wearing underwear with legs, I was like, oh my gosh, here we go. This is the idea. So I'm really excited about how it's working out.
And I saw the line drawing as well the other day, and so a lot of like pattern designers they'll do different dots and dashes for the different sizes, but you've done rainbow. I love that.
Yeah. I do go to dashes on the final printed pattern, but with the pattern pieces so small, um, um, when they're nested and tweaking the lines to make them flow nicely, they all sort of swoop into just a big, mass. So
Mm.
having it be a rainbow keeps you're like, they're all perfect. Right. So okay.
But outside of designing and everything, do you do much sewing for yourself?
Um, I have a dress I have been working on for 2 years. And before that, I had a copy of the same dress that I worked on for the 2 years prior to that. So, yes. The saying, the cobbler's children have no shoes is sometimes I raid my stash of samples of like, these can really come into my closet now. Okay, it's time to put some use into these. um, no, I don't have any here with me. Um, I've been doing for the past couple of years these little mice. I had this idea, like, wouldn't it be so fun and so cute? My history of like doll making as a child. Um, are you familiar with Angelina Ballerina?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Gosh, that's my favorite books in the whole world. Um, and my idea was, what if I made a tiny little mouse doll, and then um, you could just make tiny little underwear, put it on her. And I called her Undie Mouse, but then immediately Instagram is like, that's not gonna go anywhere. So I renamed her Melba Mouse. And oh my gosh, they're so fun and so cute. You make tiny little underwear, two little sequin pasties and little jewel bead crowns. They're so cute. I released the pattern for Undie Mouse, I think last Valentine's. And then this year I was going to do Ballerina Mouse um, for Valentine's, and it didn't come together, but maybe for next year.
Mm. Yeah, because I think before Christmas, did you have some pant bunt like mini pant bunting? It was
Mhm.
just so
Yeah,
cute. It was
that's
just
another project. Undie ornaments.
mm,
That those were the idea of. I taught a sewing class one time. I swear, all of my coolest ideas come from people who come to sewing classes, and I'm like, that's so cool. I want to do that too.
yep.
um, um, her name is, oh, what's her last name? I think it's Rebecca Ankenbrand. She's a chocolate maker. Her brand is called Sweet Me New. And she posted some little bra and underwear ornaments for her Christmas tree. And I messaged her. I was like, "Oh my god, can I steal that? Oh, can I steal that?" So I shrank down a whole bunch of my patterns, and then we do sewing classes every holiday, and we just sit around for a few hours making undie ornaments with people. And you would not believe, people come into sewing classes and I get this way too of like, okay, I want to make it beautiful and I want to do a good job. But when you're doing something new, that's not always the most helpful approach.
Mhm.
And I try to tell people like, hey, it's just a pair of underwear. Nobody's going to see it. Your first pair is going to be not good, but
Mm.
it's going to be under your clothes, and nobody, you know, it's not gonna be bad.
Mhm.
Don't worry about it. It'll be a wonky, but it'll be fine. Um, like people get stressed. But with undie ornaments, like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's ugly. You're just like, look how tiny. I'm gonna throw a whole bunch of sequins and feathers, and I'm gonna hot glue trim all over it. And everybody just has so much fun. And it's the most relaxed class consistently. Everybody has the best time. Um,
I guess they're so small as well. Once you've made one, and maybe the
yeah,
first little one is a bit
yeah,
rubbish,
whip
but you
them
get the
out.
technique. And it's like all sewing, really. Once you've done one, you kind of get the technique. You're always learning. And then the
Yeah.
next one, you'll improve. It may not be 100% perfect, but then it's that practice makes perfect thing. I mean, almost perfect, yeah, in my case. There's always something that's a little bit wonky or whatever, but it's count.
Um, yeah, definitely. I have a one of my most cherished compliments of my whole life. I think about this so often. Um, um, uh, Jamie, one of the um, founders of Fancy Tiger Crafts, um, RIP Fancy Tiger. She came to one of my sewing classes in, I think it was in Portland. And I overheard her talking to the shop owner of Dry Goods Design, and she was holding my sample of underwear, and she said, "Her sewing is just so perfect." And I was like,
That is quite the compliment.
I know.
Like,
Hi, I'm all right. Everything's fine.
she's just concerned.
Just checking on me.
He's a good assistant.
Yeah. So sometimes when I'm like, I love to work with just crazy stuff. I did a art series of velvet lingerie with a theme of humpback whales. And the velvet I had gotten was just not cooperating. It was like the mesh was all sliding off of it. I couldn't get it perfect, and it was so frustrating to me. And then I was like, okay, I like when it's perfect, but it doesn't have to be. And then I was like, okay, it's fine. We can move forward. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I think we all have to learn that lesson every single time we make something. Like, wait a minute, hold up. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's gonna be fine.
Especially if you're making for yourself, like as long as it stays together.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I used to wear, I mean, I still got it, like a jersey dress. It's like a skate dress. And in
Mm,
the left pocket, because it was such a basic pattern, I was never sure which way around was the front. Um,
mm,
but I knew that the hole in the pocket had to go on the left.
uh-huh.
And it was just a tiny hole that I could easily mend, but I never did. And like that's the only thing like wrong with it, that and I don't know which way the front is. But if I wore it with the hole in the pocket on the left, which is why I can't mend it, uh it was all fine. That's how it.
Yeah, there's always like we have such lofty aspirations of like, you know, I'm gonna mend everything beautifully, and I'm gonna have a beautiful handmade wardrobe. And then like we start to see like we start seeing all the little imperfections. We're like, oh, that's not perfect, that's not perfect. And then the more you just like, you know what, I'll just wear it, I'll do it later. And the more you wear it, then the more you live with it, and the more like your brain sees the charm and the flaws, and then
I
that's just like part of the garment now.
This week on a session, I was finally hemming a shirt that I finished before lockdown. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, must be 6 or 7 years old. And I've overlocked the edge, but I was always tucking it into trousers or a skirt, so no one would ever see the edges. But
Yeah.
then I was wearing it last week, and I thought maybe I should finish this. And I mentioned it to someone on a session. They were like, "Oh my God, you've never hemmed it." I have four tops I've never hemmed. Some of them are jerseys; they're never going to fray. But yeah, this viscosy top, I
Mhm.
finally hemmed it this week. Because the overlocking was coming undone. So I was like, oh, okay, I ought to fix that and then hem it. And it's been hemmed after 7 years. I mean, it's been worn
Congratulations.
loads. Yeah,
Put that on your resume.
finally hemmed after 7 years. I mean, like, it didn't take long.
It never does. There was a meme or a tweet. It was like, I finished something I've been procrastinating for 7 years and it took 45 minutes. I will
Mhm.
learn nothing from this.
Like that, I got a new machine last year, and then I thought I ought to just clean the inside because there's going to be a load of fluff. And I did it.
Mm,
I put the top plate back on, but wouldn't go flat. And I tried
mm.
to use it, and it was like, no, came up with a beep. So I thought I'm just going to use my old machine and just crack through what I need to. And I came to mend it at the weekend, and it took me 2 seconds. Just undid the screws, put it back down, screwed it back on, and it was ready to go. And I've yeah done like
Structurally integral fluff.
yeah, it just 2 seconds, and I was like, oh, okay, ended it. And I thought it was going to be a whole long process. I'd have to talk to manufacturer or read the instruction book. No, just off and on again, essentially. The things we put off.
Oh,
Um,
truly.
yeah. Do you do a lot of mending?
Oh, you should see the shirt I just took off.
Do you have a mending pile? Is probably the right question.
Nope. I work from home and my housemates are like, wow, that one's okay. There was a there was um uh pants with a hole right in the back of the butt. And I was like, it's fine. Most of my underwear are dark. And then I was in the house and I was like, whoa, that's oops, that pink underwear. Okay, I'll sew it up.
The thing is, it's kind of out of sight, almost out of
Mhm.
mind, which is worse.
Yeah. I'm
Uh,
sitting down all the time. I don't know about it.
so in Chicago, is there much of like sewing socials, like in-person events as well as workshops?
Probably.
You're not going out to them if there are.
Um, no, I use a wheelchair and I am still like completely shielding for my health. So I don't go out and do stuff much. Um, um, but I love to watch other people do it on the internet. I get invited to, oh man, I say yes every year and I never quite make it. Um, I get invited to give things to swag bags and do promotional marketing at all of the what are those groups that everybody does? The fancy dress up balls.
I like the frock tails.
Cocktails, yeah. Yeah. Those are all over. People have a
Yeah.
great yeah. Um uh Someone in my sewing group goes to them and her dresses are so cool all the time. Yeah. So I love to watch.
Forever. Do you do any online socials?
um I've been again, I've been invited to several. I have a sewing group. We meet every other week online on my through my Patreon. It started as we started with 60 people in the lockdown. And that was two separate groups, and I would do them every week. And it's just a sewing show and tell, and everybody gets, you know, like 3 or 5 minutes to just tell everybody what they've been working on. And it started out like just show and tell. Here's what I'm working on. Um, we have a no advice unless asked policy, so it's just really like here's what I'm working on, and I get to talk about it, and here are my struggles, and you know here are here's what I'm planning on. We had one year that it was like four people were making wedding dresses, and that was so cool to just watch everybody like working on them, starting with like here's what I'm thinking for the pattern. I'm shopping for fabric. I'm thinking beading and watching them all come together. And then we all got to see the pictures of the weddings. That was so fun. But it's gotten smaller over the years, and it's um, turned into like just a core group of people who've been, meeting for years now, and um, it's turned into like a just a group of friends, and we get to catch up on each other's lives, and it's so lovely and fun, and everyone should join. We can be friends.
So nice. And that's the nice thing about the virtual sewing room is just, yeah, we always talk about makes and what people are doing and that advice and questions. And we also say no such thing as a stupid question as well. I think I asked a stupid one this week because it's to do with quilting and it's just not my go-to thing. So I
Yeah.
felt quite comfortable going, what?
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Uh, there are so many little tiny little tricks, and
Yeah.
they're like, if nobody taught you, then you're like, why is this turning out so poorly? And then I know.
Yeah. I mean, my mum was a quilter and I should have picked up more from her, but
Mhm.
I didn't. And the binding techniques, I asked someone about it this week. Um,
Mhm.
I don't think it was quite, yeah, I've just learned a couple of things already that's going to improve the finish and stuff, which is really nice. But you mentioned before we started recording your brother does quilting. It's
Yes. I was just thinking, oh man, his quilt is usually right here on my bed, but it's not
not
today.
today. No.
He does just incredible things. Oh man, he works in HR from home, and he's just in meetings and piecing quilt tops. And he is, oh my God, he's making stuff constantly. He's so cool. He just, my niche is underwear, and his is just blankets, any kind of blankets. He's just like, he'll knock them out. Crazy.
Does he sell his stuff?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. And he sent me a whole bunch of stuff for me to put on my website. I was going to do a little pop-up shop for him. So
oh,
that's in my office.
oh, nice. You have to
Yeah.
know and I'll shout about it. Oh, yeah.
His name is Elliot Hines. Two T's, one L, two T's.
I'll put a link. But talking of links, have you got any other, you've mentioned a few, but have you got any small businesses you want to shout out to?
Um, I have a really lovely relationship with Lydia Morrow. Her Instagram is What Lydia Made. She is, I came across her several years ago because she was also in the indie lingerie scene. But she has transitioned more into like the art and stylist and, like creative direction side of sewing. So she does like really exciting knitwear patterns. But then she also does, like photo shoot directing, and like she does a whole bunch of like writing and poetry, and just like she's such an incredibly um well-rounded creative person. So I recommend you follow her. She's so cool.
As we come to the end of our chat, which has flown by today, I'm going to do a quick this or that. So I'll give you two options and you have to pick.
Yep.
Woven or knit?
Oh, knits for sure. I made a woven top. It was like 10 years ago. And I was texting people like, oh my God, this is so easy. This is so fun. Oh my God. Wow. I got to pull out my iron. It was so fun. Oh, so exciting. Yeah.
It's
Wow.
not
Yeah.
often you hear someone say, I got out my iron, it was so fun. Like that's not a sentence you hear often.
Yeah. We joked in college that we were getting a real degree was in pressing. And since then I never used the iron ever again.
Blue or green?
Oh, shoot. Well, I'm gonna say green, but then my housemates are like, well, that's wait, what did I say? I always say, oh, that's a beautiful blue, and they're like, that's green.
We can just say teal. I mean,
We're gonna say, yes, both. They're my favorite.
do both. People have got round these. Plain or patterned?
Oh, plain forever. Plain forever.
I
Yeah.
think you're the first plain.
I mean, one look at my Instagram.
But
Um,
the colors, like so all the plains in the underwear you share, like they're just so beautifully like contrast. They like yeah, the
yeah,
palettes are just so nice. So just
yeah. My whole sort of interest is um surface design through design lines and color blocking. So you could use solids and elastic colors and sheer and textures and like make something really cool. Like, ooh.
yeah, there's a really nice aesthetic to it.
Thank you.
Cat or dog?
Only girls. Girl dogs. We joke, all dogs are girls and all cats are boys. Because everyone I know who has a dog has a girl dog, and everyone who has a cat has a boy cat. I've been living with people who have cats for the first time, and um I think it's strange to have an apex predator in your house. But we respect each other.
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, I am a early bird by way of I am just still up from yesterday. I'm just in the night. Um, yeah, I've been going to bed at like 6 a.m. Yeah, it happens to me.
I mean,
Nighttime forever.
I can't even begin to. I don't remember the last time I did that. Uh,
Well, I wake up at 2 p.m. Um, my housemates, um, they have real jobs out of the house. And I get up and, clean the kitchen and putter around the house. And then they come home and we all make dinner together. And like they go to bed. Okay, finally, clock into work.
but that's it. I think I've definitely realized that I can have a. I'm more of an afternoon, evening person, like morning, but then I need a few hours in the middle of the day where I just clock out, like almost siesta, lunch siesta, and then yeah, back into it in the evening, which isn't ideal when my husband's out all day and he comes back and I'm like, no, thank
Doesn't mix with
you.
other people.
Nope, I'm in the zone now. Sorry. Like I'm just starting to realize that. That's how I roll, but yeah. Knitting or crochet?
Oh, knitting. Um, Crochet there's so many loops.
I've never got a handle on crochet. It's just never what me and
I'm
crochet.
like, oh God, this loop is so big. I wish I could make it smaller.
Train or aeroplane?
Ooh, I prefer the train, but I get so car sick. I'm one of those people make fun of. I have to face the front direction and I can't enjoy it. I'm just ill.
Spots or stripes?
Hmm.
Or
Probably
neither?
stripes. Probably stripes.
Tea or coffee?
Tea. I um make all my own teas, which is just because I only drink flowers. I like to do a little concoction, some chamomile and lavender, and um, sprinkle in cardamom and fun stuff.
Sounds really nice.
Plants.
Perfect finish or life's too short?
Oh, it's gotta be perfect. It's gotta be perfect. Um, in college, I had a outfit and it was gonna be a sheer top, and I was like, "Oh, I should make a bra for that." And you know, you couldn't even see it because I had a shirt on top of it, and I'm like, "Okay, it's gonna be color blocked. It's gonna have washed silk panels, and it's all gonna be channel stitched." That's when it's like a whole bunch of rows. Is that correct? Am I remembering that right? Whatever. Yeah, and I'm like hours into it. And I'm like, they're not even gonna see this. I'm like, I know.
But you know.
Oh.
Cake or biscuits?
Mm, biscuits all the time. Oh man, I love to go to France, and I just it's 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 just to go to the grocery store and get fun groceries. I'm like, cookies. So many cookies.
Read a book or watch TV?
mm, yeah, yeah. I love audiobooks. I have a reading challenge every year. I try to hit 75 books. My secret goal is 85, but I've only done it once. I like audiobooks, but I love television. Yeah.
Anything you're watching at the moment?
Mm, I just started a TV show called The Pit, which is lovely. It has Noah Wiley, and he's a doctor. And they're in the middle of the first season, and my housemate was like, he was also on ER for decades. I'm like, okay, well, I gotta watch that now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm watching ER for the first time.
I'm getting through Grey's Anatomy for the first time. Yeah.
That's one of those things I can't bear to rewatch it because if you see it for a second time, you're like, wow, this is a lot of plane crashes. But
Yeah.
I'm I'm gonna be watching it till the day they stop making it.
Yeah. I'm not someone that can go back. When it's a long series like that, I can't go back,
Wow,
especially
this is a lot
drama.
of dead people.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, oh no, here it comes. So I knew certain people were gonna die at some point. I was aware of that, but yeah. Mm.
I
Uh,
love them. They're just, if somebody wants to leave the show, we're gonna murder them brutally on screen. And then some people are just like, oh, they moved away. But they're still at the hospital.
they're still messaging.
Yeah, I just hopped out of a consult with her. You didn't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, I love them.
Zips
God.
or buttons?
Oh, probably buttons, I think. There's a we have this store locally, um, and I think they're like starting to be or becoming more ubiquitous, like a store where people take their old craft stuff and then they sort it and organize it, and you can buy, um, you know, bits and pieces.
Mhm.
And the one by us, I don't even know what the word is for that kind of store.
I was listening to a podcast and they mentioned it, like a scrap store.
Yeah, like a
Mm.
creative reuse store.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like going into other people's basements, but you can take the things that you think are pretty.
Hmm.
But they have this huge bucket of bins of buttons, a huge bin of buttons,
Yeah.
and you sort through and like, clock in on this one. Gotta sort these. I love that.
I could do that all day.
Mm-hmm. That's
Uh,
the person.
text message or a phone call?
Text. Yeah.
Sewing machine or hand sewing?
Oh, sewing machine. Thank you, Melba. I No, it's not. This isn't true anywhere outside of my own brain because hand sewing is a big part of professional finishing and tailoring and you know, but I think it's a moral failing if you have a sewing machine pattern and then you're like, "Oh, by the way, you have to hand sew this." Like I couldn't configure it in a way that would make it all come together easily. So you have to go back and hand stitch that. I'm like,
There's definitely been a pattern where it's told me you need to hand stitch the next step, and I'm like, do I?
You should have thought about this better.
I am just gonna. I call it bodging. I'm just gonna wing it, see what happens. Yeah, it's fine. Been wearing it for 5 years. It's still together.
It'll be, I don't, it's, I can hold that part out of the way. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
exactly. Anything to avoid. I mean, I'm a bit more patient with it now, but so far no one has said hand sewing over sewing machine. So it's like the
Some
most
people,
unanimous.
oh my God, some people message me. I just got one the other day. They're like, can I hand sew an underwear pattern? And every time I'm like, I don't recommend that. And some people, they come back and they're like, I did it. It's great. I'm like, wow,
Good for
that's
you.
astonishing. That you get a medal for that. That's fantastic.
There should be a sticker or badge for that, but I will never
That's
own. This
I
is the
don't.
final one, and it's very British, but cream first or jam first?
On what?
Yeah, that's fair. Um, so
On the stone.
there's two counties in the UK, and it from what they're neighbouring, and it's on a scone. It's whether you put the cream first or jam first, because one county prefers one way, one county prefers the other, and it's a thing.
That's like that's gonna be. I know about the one that do you put in the milk first or the
Oh,
tea
for
first?
tea, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That would be a really weird tea.
You don't put in milk first.
um it has to be jam first because you cannot spread a foam or you can't spread goop on top of a foam.
Oh, so the cream is like a clotted cream, so it's almost like a
Yeah.
butter. But
Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. You
yeah,
can't put butter on top of jam.
like
There's no friction.
hmm
You
hmm
have to cream first. Of course.
yeah.
Logically.
I mean, it's all opinions, but you're right.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm
uh,
really good at educated guesses.
that's the end of our quick fire, but not so quick, but that's fine.
But I'm
Round.
on the right team.
You're on the right team. Yeah, yeah, you pass. You're fine. This will get published. Uh,
Write that down, Melba.
such a great assistant. It's been lovely talking with you today.
Oh, thank
I'll
you.
drop all the links below and see you around on Instagram.